VLR.
Welcome to the Saturday Night Cigar Lounge.
And it is actually really hot here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We had our second day in a row of 100-degree temperatures, but it is cool here in the Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. It's always going to be cool in the Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. I am your host, Taylor Millard. Thanks for being here to listen to the show tonight. My conversation with JD Tuccilli is coming up in just a few minutes, and that's going to be fun. It's going to look at everything from a gonzo journalism book that he wrote to the decision by Beretta to leave Maryland for Tennessee, as well as we'll talk about what exactly is economic patriotism, because that's been something that's been brought up by the president very recently, and his administration very recently, and I can't exactly figure out what that means. I can't. I'm not sure what that means. But before we get to that, I want to have some fun, and I want to discuss San Diego Comic-Con, because, hey, let's start with the fun stuff first. The biggest news that came out today was the release of what Wonder Woman is going to look like. What Gal Gadot, I think is how you say it, or Gadot, is going to look like as Wonder Woman. And looking at the image of it, it's not a bad costume at all. One of the things that was done by Zack Snyder is that he likes to film his things in very monochrome. He likes to do a ton of color wash. So when you look at it, you sit there and it's like, oh, it's only brown. There's no red or there's no red in it. Well, no, there's a very, very deep red if you look at it. And then obviously it's got the classic Wonder Woman symbol on it. It's got knee-high, very armory-looking boots. And the lasso is there. The sword is there. It's a good-looking costume. And for the life of me, if you go to drudgereport.com and you look at his link to it, he says, Dominatrix, new Wonder Woman costume revealed at Comic-Con. Really, Matt? Really? She doesn't look like a Dominatrix. At all. At all. And it's pretty amazing that that's what he went for. I'm not surprised by this. It's Drudge. He's looking for clickbait, obviously, and I'm sure a lot of people have gone and looked at it. But it looks fine. It's a good costume. It's a lot better than that failed NBC Wonder Woman pilot that they tried a few years ago. That costume, or at least part of the costume that they had, the one that they showed, it didn't look horrible, but it certainly didn't look good. It could have been a lot worse, but I'm glad that they're not going with with that. Vicky in the chat room just commented, "It does not exist." Well, sadly, it kind of does. But it's, yeah, I like this costume a lot better. I think it's a lot better looking. It's a lot. It just looks really good, and I think it'll work. I think it'll work just fine, especially when you look at how Batman looks. The Batman look is almost exactly like Frank Miller looks like, or a Frank Miller drawn version of Batman looks like. And I think it's great that they're going for the Frank Miller look in the Bat costume, because that's one of my favorite costumes of all time. Just how he drew it, how he did it. I would be when I went to the it was Batman Day, celebrating the 75th anniversary of Batman this week, and I actually they were giving out Batman half masks, and of course the one that I grabbed was the Frank Miller one. The boys at Keith's Comics tried to give me Adam West, and I was like, no, I want Frank Miller. I want Frank Miller because it's Frank Miller. I mean, how else can you complain about it? It's Frank freaking Miller. Some other interesting stuff that was announced. Apparently, there's going to be an Avengers War as Falcon Cap, as kind of everybody's calling him, joins the mighty Avengers. In case you're wondering who Falcon Cap is, yes, he is the Black Captain America, formerly known as Falcon, which is why everybody calls him Falcon Cap. You know, I have no problem with their decision to make Sam Wilson the new Captain America. I mean, eventually, obviously, Steve Rogers will be back as Captain America. But my biggest issue is the costume. I don't like the costume. And the reason why I don't like the costume is there's too much going on. Now look, I'm no fashion critic, okay? I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not a fashion critic. I don't exactly have the best sense of style when it comes to it. People have made fun at me about the fact that I enjoy wearing affliction shirts, or shirts with an apple and an orange with one of the fruits saying, well, we're both fruits. So obviously that should say something about my fashion sense. It's not the best. But this costume, I don't know. It's not that I dislike it. I just think that there's too much going on here. I think it should have been a lot simpler than they made it to be. Because when you look at it, obviously it's like they tried to meld the Falcon costume, the Captain America costume, and then I'm pretty sure that they tried to throw in some of what the movie Captain America costume in Captain America Winter Soldier looked like, and it just doesn't work. It really needs to be toned down for it to work. I do like the fact that they're keeping the Falcon wings there. It makes sense to do that. I think that's great. You know, he's got the shield. I don't mind the mask, which is the classic Falcon mask. I don't get the costume. I don't get the rest of the costume. The white, it doesn't seem right. That's just me. I'm sure there are people out there who like the costume. It's not my thing. Vicky in the chat room makes a comment about me as a fashionista. Yeah, she's known me for a while. Even when I worked at Banana Republic, I was no fashionista. And yes, I worked at Banana Republic for about a year. I quit when they decided to make purple the main color for the fall. I was like, nope, not wearing purple. Black, yes. Blue, yes. Purple, no. Not wearing purple, not at all. The other thing of interest that has been introduced and is going to happen at some point, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to read this because I don't read a ton of Marvel, unless it's Nathan Edmondson, and then I do read it because it's, well, Nathan Edmondson. Is that they're going to finally be doing an Angela series. Now, if folks are sitting there and wondering who the heck is Angela, and is sitting there going, wait, isn't Angela a Spawn character? Well, it's, Angela was a Spawn character. Angela was a Spawn character created by Todd Gaiman, gosh, see, this is what I get for sleeping before going on the air. Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane, co-created by them. And it ended up being, there was a ton of litigation over it because due to royalty rights, because McFarlane didn't want to give royalty rights to Gaiman. If I remember this, all this has been going on for years until it finally got settled. So, then what happened was, as part of the settlement, McFarlane ended up giving the character back to Gaiman, who then sold it to Marvel. So, when that happened, Marvel took it over, and what they ended up doing was they ended up making her one of the daughters of Odin. They redid her costume a little bit. It doesn't look as bikini-esque, although it certainly has plenty of bikini going on in it. A lot of bikini going on in it, but it's not like it was when she was first introduced. And so now what they're trying to make it out to be is, as co-writer Kieran Gillen says, it's an Asgardian Black Widow. Now, if they do it right, it's going to be really good, because the Black Widow series involving Nathan Edmondson is fantastic. I like the artist I actually like both of the artists who they picked. Stephanie Hans and Phil Jimenez. Phil Jimenez is going to be doing 15 pages of art, and then Hans is going to be doing 5 pages of art. So that'll be interesting. You get 2 tales, basically a main story and then a backup story is what it looks like. I'm curious to see how they do it. I'm curious to see how she adapts to the status quo as being the daughter of Odin. Obviously, there's going to be a mini-series, because of course there would be a mini-series, involving that before it goes into the main series. It could be good. It could not be good. I don't know. It's got a shot. We'll see what happens. That's kind of the big stuff that has gone on. And then the other really big thing, and this was a panel that I really wish that I had been a part of, that I've been able to watch. It was the Batman 75th Anniversary panel, which had DC co-publisher Jim Lee, DC Animations Peter Girardi, Jeff Johns, who's a writer and the chief creative officer of DC. Batman 66 meets the Green Hornet writer Ralph Garman. Batman the Animated Series producers Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. And the best version of Batman, best ever version of Batman, as much as I love the Dark Knight trilogy, the best version of Batman is Kevin Conroy, who played Batman in Batman the Animated Series. And I really wish that I had been there to see this panel, because that would have just been a fantastic discussion to watch. I mean, Conroy said that Mark Hamill's version of the Joker is the definitive version of the character, and that's absolutely right. It is the definitive version of the character. It was a great... I mean, it was funny. The story goes, they originally had hired Tim Curry to be the Joker. They had originally hired Tim Curry to be the Joker, but they thought that he was too scary. So they said, no, we're not going with Tim Burton. We're not going with Tim Burton. We're not going with Tim Curry. We're going to go with Mark Hamill. And Mark Hamill is freaking creepy as the Joker, because he has the ability to be ridiculous. Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. And then he has the ability just to be absolutely scary. They did one of the earliest episodes of Batman was called The Laughing Fish. And Mark Hamill is creepy as the Joker. I mean, he's the definitive version. He's the definitive version of the character. He's better than Heath Ledger. He's better than Jack Nicholson. He's better than Cesar Romero. He is the Joker. And it's great that they got to do that. One of the other things that I thought was really funny was they did a Frank Miller Sin City: A Dame to Kill For panel. And I'm really looking forward to this movie. If I weren't... if I didn't have to wake up and go to work in the morning, because I'm not in my 20s anymore, I would totally go to a midnight showing and then go to work of Sin City 2. But I'm going to have to wait and just see it in the afternoon or evening at some point. And Frank Miller said that in this panel, he said, because of my work on Batman and other projects, I was invited to be a screenwriter, but there were too many bosses. I wasn't happy about it. So I moved away, sat down, and decided to create the comic book that could not be adapted into movies. And that was Sin City. And then he said, and then he said, and Miller goes, this crazy Texan showed me how to do it. The crazy Texan is a filmmaker, Robert Rodriguez, who is a really good filmmaker. I have not seen the Machete movies yet, but he is or the Spy Kids films, but he is a really good filmmaker. So I'm looking forward to Sin City 2. It looks like how Frank Miller drew it. It looks, I mean, it's right off the it's right off the page. It's right off the page. Sin City was like that. Sin City 2 is going to be like that. The fact that they cast Eva Green as one of the main characters, the character who they cast her as, it's just perfect. There was obviously talk a while ago that Angelina Jolie was going to be the character who Eva Green has, and let me tell you something. I'm so glad that Eva Green got it. Eva Green playing Ava Lord it's fantastic. I'm so glad that they picked that. She's a good actress. She's hot too, but she's a good actress. Probably one of my, and I'm saying this jokingly, so any Francophiles out there, don't go insane. One of the few French people I like. I'm joking, Francophiles. Chill out. Outside of that, the biggest issue, or the biggest announcement is the fact that Marvel is going to be doing Star Wars comics. We knew this was going to happen because when Disney bought Marvel, and then Disney bought Star Wars, it makes sense. It's too bad that they are getting rid of most of the expanded universe, even though some of it wasn't that good. Other parts of it were really good. Who they have signed up to be the artists involved in it is actually, it's good choices. The artists and writers, the creative teams could end up being pretty good. You have Star Wars, written by Jason Aaron and John Cassaday, a Texan, by the way, a Dallasite, by the way, who is a really good artist. I think he'll do a good job. They will definitely look like their counterparts on the screen. Although the issue, although actually it won't. One of the things that Star Wars will end up doing is that it's basically going to be it's going to be talking about basically setting up the new expanded universe, which I really wish that they would start it after the Thrawn trilogy, but that's just me. Then there's going to be a Darth Vader title by Kieran Gillen and Salvador LaRocca. They'll have good art and decent writing, I think. And then there's going to be a Princess Leia series with Mark Waid and Terry Dodson. That's going to be really good art. Wade's a good writer. Wade actually is a good writer. I think that'll end up being pretty good too. Am I going to read any of them? I don't know. As big of a Star Wars, as big as of a Star Wars fan as I am, I'm not sure I'm going to see it. I'm really not. I'm not sure I'm going to see it. Read it. I'll probably just wait for the new trilogy to come out. That's just me. I'm looking forward to the other announcement that they're going to have tomorrow. Obviously, they have to do some new series announcements at some point, outside of just what they've already announced, and we'll see where it goes from there. So it'll be cool. It's always, when it comes to San Diego Con, they always have a bunch of stuff that gets announced. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here, what everything looks like, what new creative teams are going to be there. We'll obviously learn more about that as the day goes by, and it should be fun. At some point, I think I will go to one, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. It's so massive. I'm likely to get lost there. Speaking of getting lost, coming up in the next few minutes is my conversation with JD Chili from Reason Magazine on the decision by Beretta to get lost from Maryland and move to Tennessee. Obviously, this has to do with the gun laws. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to y'all hearing that conversation because it's a really good conversation. And we talk about just what the heck is economic patriotism, because I sure as hell don't know. But we'll be back right after this. This is Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. In the next hour, Mary Chastain is my guest, but coming up next is going to be my conversation with JD Chili. We'll be back after this.
This is the Pint-Sized Pundit, and I am here to tell you that anything Taylor says on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge is his opinion and his opinion only. He does not speak for his employer, his employer's employer, or anyone else. He especially doesn't speak for Liz unless she says so.
Hi, this is Missy Bordius. Join me as I share my womanly bits on the Conservative Feminist Show, 11 p.m. on Fridays, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Mr. President, members of Congress, you've been making a lot of noise about taking our guns away. But you might want to review history. 1835, Gonzales, Texas Territory. The authorities wanted to confiscate the big gun that protected that colony. You know what the people said? Come and take it. Because they were willing to fight for their freedom and their guns. So are we.
Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but I warn you, you'll have to pry it from my cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it.
One shot at a time. Just like Gonzales, we're keeping our guns.
This is Lachlan Marquet of the Washington Free Beacon, and you are listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Back here on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. I'm your host, Taylor Millard, and very happy from Reason, the managing editor, J.D. Tuccilli. J.D., how are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Now, I got to ask this, before we get into talking about Beretta and guns, what exactly is High Desert Barbecue?
That's a novel I wrote about, it's a gonzo novel, humorous. It takes place in the high desert of Arizona, and it's got your usual gang of inept bureaucrats, radical environmentalists, and of course our heroes who have their adventures in the desert. So I highly recommend it to all discerning readers.
Now, why did you decide to write that?
You know, it was just good fun. I like having a good read. It doesn't have to necessarily be ultra serious. And I live in the high desert of Arizona. It's just a beautiful piece of the world. I mean, I love the canyons and I love the forests. And it was a way for me to have some fun out there and take things that I enjoy doing and put them on paper and share them with people.
One thing that people actually don't realize is that Arizona has like all 5 climate areas in the state. I mean, you've got your desert, you've got your forests, you got your mountains. People forget this, but
you can take a relatively short drive from a roasting heat to ski slopes. That's absolutely true.
I remember I once drove from Phoenix to Prescott Valley because I was seeing a friend of mine's hockey team play, and I'm driving up there, and it just drops. I mean, you went up as you went up, 100 feet, it dropped like 10 degrees.
Oh, easily, absolutely. And it gets beautiful. And you're driving along, and the trees start getting taller and taller, and the terrain is greener and greener, and the air is just a little bit crisper.
That's the part of Arizona that I actually would have liked to have lived in, not in the valley. But, I'm sure you get less haboobs there, too.
It's a different environment all the way around once you get into the high country.
Yeah, the politics are probably a little bit different too, aren't they?
They are. It's Flagstaff is a college town. It's rather liberal, although in an Arizona way. I mean, it's not Cambridge by any means. And you can see people walking down the street with a gun on their hip. We now have marijuana dispensaries open in Sedona and Flag. And there's a leave me alone ethos that I think I appreciate across the spectrum in Arizona, by and large. We don't get the control freaks that you get east of the Mississippi.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they kind of stayed east of the Mississippi, or
that would be lovely,
or west of Arizona.
Yeah, we're waiting to put those border stations. They won't let us do it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned guns on the hip, and one of the things that you wrote this week at Reason was the fact that Beretta is ditching Maryland over their restrictive gun laws. And one of the things that Beretta USA Corporation General Manager Jeff Cooper said was, during the legislative session in Maryland that resulted in the passage of the Firearms Safety Act of 2013, the version of the statute that passed the Maryland Senate would have prohibited Beretta from being able to manufacture, store, or even import into the state products that we sell to customers throughout the United States and around the world. While we were able in the Maryland House of Delegates to reverse some of these obstructive provisions, the possibility that such restrictions might be reinstated in the future leaves us very worried about the wisdom of maintaining a firearm manufacturing factory in the state.
Yeah, specifically, Beretta was worried about some provisions regarding high-capacity firearms and magazines, and while those didn't pass into law, I mean, it's clear that the political winds in Maryland have changed from the situation 40 years ago when a senator lost his seat because he advocated restrictive gun laws. And now the state is very different. At least the eastern part of the state that dominates politics is very different. I think Beretta saw that changing, and they saw a much better deal in Tennessee. So, I mean, they're closing up shop. They're finishing out their contracts in Maryland, and they made it very clear that this was related to the law in that state, not the one necessarily that got to the books immediately last year, but what was proposed to be done and what politicians clearly want to do, the politicians that are in power. And so they're going to wind down the contracts, shut the doors on the factory, offer workers a move to Tennessee, and open up a whole new facility in Tennessee that's going to employ 300 people plus, of course, tens of millions of dollars in investment. So that's a huge change for Beretta, and it's a big loss for Maryland, and it's a political statement in and of itself.
I was about to say, because they didn't pull any punches in their statement.
Not at all. Sometimes companies, when they do things, will hem and haw a little bit about the motivation because they don't want to offend politicians. Beretta has a reputation for not doing that, and it's very clear in this. They pointed at the law, they pointed at the politicians, and this is a law that the state governor O'Malley had championed, and they said this is why. This is why we're leaving. The environment here is terrible, and we're getting out. So there's no doubt at all what the motivation is.
Now, one of the things that I thought was interesting, you look at what Maryland did versus what of course now I'm blanking on they do the PMags. Magpul did was
in Colorado.
Yeah, Magpul announced immediately that they were leaving, and then you heard nothing. Beretta, I think, made a comment that they were thinking about it. And then all of a sudden, this week they're like, yep, we're moving to Tennessee.
They followed up. Now, they're not the only ones. I mean, I checked. Magpul still seems to be on track to leave, although there's not been a lot of talk about it. I mean,
they're coming down here.
They are coming down.
They're coming down here. They're coming to Texas.
And they're not the only one. Carr is moving facilities from New York to Pennsylvania. PTR moved from Connecticut to South Carolina. And then you've got companies that have facilities in different states that are expanding the ones in the more gun-friendly states and shifting manufacturing away, at least slowly, from the unfriendly states to the friendlier ones. You've also seen Smith & Wesson and Ruger, and this is a slightly different deal, but when California imposed new restrictions on handguns, they both said that they would not modernize their lines there and they would not comply with the new restrictions, essentially pulling out of that market. Basically by attrition, their guns will stay there, the old designs, but they can't introduce any new designs, and they won't introduce any new designs. So you are seeing a political shift. It's an economic shift. In some cases, it's not worth companies' time or energy to stay in a place or to engage in a market. And also, people have feelings too. They have beliefs. And if your entire industry is vilified in a jurisdiction, since what we do tends to be part of who we are, we tend to believe in what we do, why would you stay in a place where you clearly get despised and you're vilified by the local political leadership a political leadership that's returned to office by the local voters. Now, things might change in Colorado, where we saw 2 state senators recalled after that gun control law passed, and a third one resigned rather than face a recall vote. And now it looks like the background check law there is a shambles, spending millions of dollars, and it looks like no one's actually going through the process. So in some states, these laws might go by the wayside because it was a near thing when they imposed them. But in a place like Connecticut, I can't imagine that a state like that, which used to be so gun-friendly in the 19th century, was the heartland of gun manufacturing. I can't imagine that many gun companies are going to stay there.
Yeah, it's almost bizarre to see really how this is going down. I mean, I guess it's free markets almost.
It's free markets in the sense of people can vote with their feet. I mean, this is what people do when the local culture changes, when the local taxes are too high. Corporations certainly can do the same thing. I mean, we see a controversy right now over inversion, where companies are repatriating their corporate headquarters overseas, and that has something to do with it too. That's not because they're being vilified, but because the tax rates in the U.S. and the tax structure is not competitive for business. But you stay where you're comfortable, where you feel like you should be, and you leave when things change, when you feel like you're no longer welcome. And it so happens that a lot of the states that are now less gun-friendly, that have passed these more restrictive laws, are also relatively difficult states in which to do business anyway. They tend to have higher tax rates and more restrictive regulations. I mean, if you look at the business regulations and tax structure in Maryland and you compare them to Tennessee, the gun issue aside, Tennessee looks rather more attractive as a manufacturing operation anyway. Then you start vilifying an existing gun operation. All of a sudden, if they decide where to make an investment, it's not that hard for them to decide to leave that state and choose some state that's going to be more welcoming in all sorts of ways.
Well, as somebody who owns a couple of Berettas, I'm not complaining that they decided to do what they did.
Well, it's a big manufacturing company. Their products tend to be well regarded, and there are people who and we know that the gun owners tend to be very sensitive to where companies locate themselves and how they behave themselves. And if a company is perceived as being too friendly to restrictive politicians, gun owners, gun buyers can take their businesses elsewhere. And Beretta, no doubt, is aware of that, especially since they will be shifting more to the civilian market because the Army is discontinuing the M9, which Beretta makes. That means that they have to be more sensitive to a market that's political, that cares about the Second Amendment and cares about the legal status of firearms.
Yeah. No kidding. Something else I want to ask you about, because I'm trying to figure this out, and this is something else that you've written about at Reason. What in the world is economic patriotism? Because I sure as hell can't figure out what that is.
Economic patriotism apparently is sticking it out and suffering abuse at the hands of politicians who don't want to change their ways. The old saying is that patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel. Well, economic patriotism is the last refuge of a politician who doesn't want to make tax and regulatory laws make any kind of sense whatsoever. I mean, we saw President Obama invoke it yesterday when he attacked corporations for inversion. Inversion's been in the news a lot recently, where companies, American-based corporations, engage in mergers overseas that allow them to transfer their headquarters to other countries. Most of the countries, all the G7 countries, have much friendlier business tax laws than the United States does. Most of them tax only profits you make in the country, and even there they tend to have lower rates than the United States does. The U.S. is not competitive business-wise and tax-wise the way it used to be. We have this kind of myth that we're still a free market country. We don't rank so well anymore. Ireland, when PricewaterhouseCoopers did its ranking of corporate, tax-friendly countries, Ireland scored at number 6, Canada scored at number 8, the U.S. scored at number 64. So there's a good reason why companies might say, we have enough. We'll just move our headquarters to someplace and we'll vastly lower our tax burden. So when President Obama invokes economic patriotism and refers to these companies as corporate deserters, he's not addressing the issue. The issue is that we have bad laws that need to be changed. He's just trying to wrap himself in the flag, which is a classic political move that's been done by every authoritarian politician to the left or the right for, centuries, thousands of years, instead of actually addressing the policy changes that need to be made. And he's trying to get people angry and heated up over these so-called corporate deserters when the real problem is the laws that are on the books. Change those, and they won't leave.
Yeah, one of the things that you mentioned was basically you just said to change the bad tax policy. I remember watching a Funny or Die video, and normally I don't watch Funny or Die, but it was Kristen Bell's spoof of Mary Poppins, and she was trying to defend raising the minimum wage. And she said, it's surprising what happens to your paycheck when you have to pay federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, and Medicaid. And I'm sitting there going, gee, how about instead of giving everybody a raise, because that would be the easy thing to do, how about we do the harder thing and get rid of some of this extraneous crap?
It's amazing how unself-conscious a lot of politicians and political advocates can be when they concede the point and don't realize they've conceded the point and then advocate for something that makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, we know that raising the cost of anything is going to reduce the demand for it. And that goes for labor as much as anything else. I mean, when you see states or localities imposing higher minimum wage costs, and then you see companies saying, hey, we're going to automate our ordering system so we don't have to hire people at all anymore, you're seeing an unintended but completely predictable consequence of raising the cost of labor. But if only they could see this. And you think that some politicians at least have to be smart enough to realize there's an end result to this, and maybe they're just playing to the crowd and trying to carry votes without actually acknowledging economic reality. But others, I mean, it's just mind-boggling with the things that come out of their mouths.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. So, tell me, what else are y'all working on over at Reason that is of interest?
Well, one of my colleagues found a video of Jonathan Gruber, who is a Obama administration advisor on Obamacare. And, of course, we had the court's decision recently saying that the Affordable Care Act law does not allow for subsidies for premiums on the federal exchanges. State-run, sure, but not the federal ones. And the administration is saying that this is not the case. That was not how the law was intended to be interpreted. His supporters are saying the same thing. The court said otherwise. They said the plain text says there's no subsidies for the federal exchanges. Well, we found a video of Jonathan Gruber making exactly that argument 2.5 years ago, not once, but in two different venues, and using that as a selling point for getting states to start up their own state exchanges. This undercuts the administration completely on their argument, saying, this is just a typo in the law. Well, it was a typo in the law that your own advisors seem to fully understand and be using as a selling point 2 years ago. That's a big deal right now because this is such an enormous issue with huge consequences for this country.
Yeah, it was Peter Suderman who found, I think, it was either Peter Suderman or, it was Peter Suderman who found it.
Yes, Peter. He's our Obamacare expert. He's really been fantastic at running down the story involving Obamacare and the flaws in the law and really the goofs in implementing it, too. Yeah,
he's a good guy. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago. So that was fun to talk to him. And, yeah, I one of the things that Gruber said that Ace of Spades picked up on, and I'm sitting there and I'm just going, I can't believe he said this. He said that it was a speako. Instead of a typo, it was a speako.
Well, clearly, I mean, he seems to have some kind of an ongoing neurological issue then, because he made it twice, and he made it very, very vigorously in two different venues. He's become a bit of a liability for the administration on this issue, I think, because he did play a core role in advocating for and the law and writing part of it too. So his speako is, if that's what it was a pretty big one.
JD, where can we find you online?
Look for me at Reason.com. That's where Reason Magazine online lives, operates, and delivers the news and current events to the world.
And on Twitter, you're at JD _
Too Chilly. TUCCILLE. Yeah, there we go on Twitter.
All right. Well, JD, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on.
And we will be back right after this. This is Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. I'm your host, Taylor Millard. Mary Chastain from Breitbart and Misfit Politics is going to be joining us at the top of next hour to talk about, what's been going on across the pond. And when I say across the pond, I mean, all the way in Europe with what's going on in Ukraine, as well as discussing the situation in Israel. So we'll be right back after this here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best and political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
We want to welcome Michael Moore to Occupy Wall Street. I'm so impressed by what I'm seeing here.
How much of people's income do you, Michael Moore, want the government to confiscate?
Probably twice what we're paying right now.
It's not envy, it's war.
Where's the rage? Where's the uprising?
Storm the doors of the New York Stock Exchange.
It is a class war.
If the wealthy paid their fair share.
For a documentary filmmaker, I do really well. I'm very blessed.
And the rich thought poverty was bad.
I do well.
They get rid of it.
What pure? There's nothing pure about capitalism.
And they know what's coming on Wall Street.
We're seeing the end of capitalism. And I say good riddance.
He is one of my favorite capitalists. Yeah, I want to give him a hug.
Hi, this is Alan Bordius of theirfinesthour.net. Catch me here on VLR Monday nights and also on Tuesday nights on the Roundtable of Extreme Liberty.
Hi, this is Mike Grell, creator of John Sable Freelance, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Back here on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. Got about 15 minutes before the top of next hour. And Mary Chastain from Breitbart is going to be joining us. And I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to discussing what goes on, what's going on in Israel, as well as what's going on in Ukraine. Should be a fun discussion. I am going to turn to some local Dallas politics for a few minutes, to the surprise of no one here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price was arrested on Friday. He's accused of bribery, as well as accused of basically doing a criminal conspiracy that helped businesses win lucrative county contracts in exchange for bribes. He also apparently gave insider information for money to the companies who were who either had contracts or the companies who were trying to get contracts. The reason why I say no one is surprised that John Wiley Price was arrested is he's got, let me tell you something, he has a past, a big past. I remember being, I remember when I was growing up, he got accused of assault, although he wasn't convicted of assaulting a television reporter. He assaulted a television reporter. He also got involved. He got mad in 2008 because you're gonna love this. Commissioner Kenneth Mayfield, who's white, said that the central collections of the Dallas County traffic tickets has become a black hole because paperwork was reportedly lost in the office. And Price's reaction to this was, excuse me? He then corrected his colleague, saying the office has become a white hole. Of course, then the funny part was that Judge Thomas Jones demanded an apology from Mayfield, saying that he made a racially insensitive remark, whereas in reality, it's a figure of speech and a science term. You cannot make this stuff up. You really can't. You just can't. The funny thing, of course, the funny thing, and this was pointed out by Bud Kennedy from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, was when he started before he started his campaign, but before John Wiley Price even got into office, he pled guilty to making a false statement in connection with an $1,800 loan transaction, and then ended up being found innocent of it because a federal jury just said, "Nope, we're going to find you. We're going to find you innocent. We're going to find you innocent." It was really John Wiley Price is a character, and I'm sorry, this was in '76. He's a character, and not in a good way. Not in a good way. No one is surprised that he is accused of taking $950,000 in bribes, and it could be all the way up to over $1 million in bribes. I believe when you factor in some of the rent acceptance that he got. It shouldn't be surprising at all. Former Dallas County Judge Jim Foster, who was once called Judge Forrest Gump by Price, told the Dallas Morning News he was very pleased with the arrest. We're on the verge of seeing the wheels of justice begin to turn in Dallas County. This investigation will shake the bedrock of Dallas County government as it's currently known. I certainly hope so, because Dallas County does need a shakeup. Dallas County needs this to happen. Beyond that, there's a question is, okay, how could this guy keep getting elected? Well, let's be honest. He played racial politics. He played racial politics as well as anyone, whether it was the black hole comment, whether it was how he portrayed himself. If you go to his website, it says that he is our man downtown. Our man downtown. That's how he has portrayed himself. And he plays, and so that's why he got defended. That's why he kept getting reelected. He does it, and he does it he does it well. Obviously, he's now in a lot of trouble, and it will be interesting to see if he goes to trial or if he takes a plea deal. There was talk that he was going to think about taking a plea deal, and then canceled a meeting with the feds. So I don't know if he's going to take a plea deal. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. I wouldn't be surprised if the feds said, no, we're going to prosecute you. It will be very interesting to see who else is caught up in this situation. The Dallas Morning News reported that those include the Business M Art Gallery, and a reference to C.K., the daughter of a Texas politician and close friend of Price, allegedly hired by one of his co-conspirators. What that said was the Dallas Morning News had previously reported that Price and Dallas Art Gallery owner Karen Manning were accused of a money laundering scheme. However, they weren't involved in this indictment. That doesn't mean that it's not going to happen at some point. As the Fed said, this is an ongoing investigation, and so I would expect it to keep ongoing and more people to be involved in it, including apparently Ross Perot's, yes, that Ross Perot's, Hillwood Corporation. Apparently, the original search warrant sought records from Hillwood. No idea what he may have done, but we'll find out what happens from there. This is going to be a trial that's going to go on for a while, and hopefully John Wiley Price's political career is over, and hopefully they will find someone else to replace him that has a little more, actually a lot more character, a lot more integrity, and won't play racial politics, because that would make things a lot easier. And for those who are sitting there going, racial politics down in Texas, I do have a story to tell. There was once I was dropping off a friend of mine. This was 12, 13 years ago. I was dropping a friend of mine off at his home in Oak Cliff. And Oak Cliff is the majority black neighborhood here in Dallas. And I dropped him off, and I was like, I can go in if you want me to. And he goes, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. I was like, why not? And he goes, my dad doesn't like white people. I was like, okay, I'll sit in the car and drink my Diet Dr. Pepper. And to answer Vicky's comment in the chat room, yes, it was. It was who you mentioned. But that's, the life in Dallas. It's always very, very, very fun. Coming up next hour, Mary Chastain is going to be joining us. We're going to talk Israel as well as Russia, as well as the solutions that are out there, because that is the biggest thing that we're fans of here, solutions. This is Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. We will be back after the top of the hour.
Here are the producers of Frack Nation, Fallon McAleer and Mac Elheny and Magdalena Segeda, to talk about their latest project, GosnellMovie.com.
Hello. We're journalists and filmmakers, and for over a decade now, we've been telling the stories that Hollywood and the mainstream media don't want to cover.
We funded our last film through Kickstarter, and it was picked up by Mark Cuban's TV channels.
And today, we're back to ask for your help to make our most important movie yet.
Today, we're launching the biggest ever crowdfunding campaign for a movie. We're going to make a TV film about Kermit Gosnell. Kermit Gosnell is the most prolific serial killer in American history, but almost no one knows who he is. The media have basically ignored his crime and his trial. He ran an abortion clinic in Philadelphia where he delivered live, viable babies and then murdered these newborns by severing their spinal cords with scissors.
According to expert testimony from neonatologists, these babies fought for their lives and suffered tremendous pain. But the mainstream media, or Hollywood, don't think this is a story. Gosnell killed more people than Gary Ridgway, John Wayne Gacy, the Zodiac Killer, and Ted Bundy combined. In a 30-year killing spree, it is thought he killed many thousands of babies.
And yet, the mainstream media or Hollywood don't think this is a national story. The same media that gave us daily updates on Jodi Arias, who was on trial at the same time as Gosnell for killing her boyfriend, just one person. Hollywood think the Jodi Arias story is so important, they have already made a TV movie about her, which has been shown multiple times.
But you shouldn't be surprised, because the establishment has always covered up the crimes of Kermit Gosnell. Here's how the grand jury explained what happened. Bureaucratic inertia is not exactly news. We understand that. But we think this was something more. We think the reason no one acted is because the women in question were poor and of colour. Because the victims were infants without identities. And because the subject was the political football of abortion.
There's been too much censorship of this story already. We're going to change all that. With your help, we're going to make a TV film about Kermit Gosnell. We'll do the job the mainstream media and Hollywood won't do. Too often we complain about the mainstream media not reporting the news and throw stuff at our TV sets. Now you can do something about it.
This is a historic campaign. Up till now, the world record is for the film Veronica Mars, a teen detective story that asked for $2 million and raised $5.7 million.
With your help, we're going to hire the best screenwriter, director, and actors to make sure that the story of Kermit Gosnell gets into every home in America.
You can give as little as $1 or as much as $10,000. You know what you can afford, but even the smallest amount is important because it sends a message that if the media won't report the news, we can do it ourselves.
Please give what you can. Gosnell's crimes need to be known, and the thousands of babies he murdered must not be forgotten. Help us do this. Please pledge right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
America's biggest serial killer, Gosnell, the doctor is sin. The crowdfunding campaign is underway now and runs through May 12th, 2014 at gosnellmovie.com.
VLR.
Welcome to the Saturday Night Cigar Lounge on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Here on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio, I'm your host, Taylor Millard, and very happy to have from Breitbart, Mary Chastain. Mary, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I hear kids in the background.
Yes, they're about to go to bed. It's the weekend, so I guess, they wanted to play. It was at 8 o'clock, and Zach was doing the watering the lawn, and they're like, oh, we want to play in the sprinklers. So they stayed up a little late today.
Okay. Okay. Wow. It's good to have you on. And if your daughters want to contribute at all, they're welcome to. I'm sure they have plenty of insight about what's been going on across the pond, don't they?
Oh, yeah, considering the fact that's all Mommy does.
Obviously, let's start with Israel. One of the things that was reported today is that Israel offered to expand a humanitarian ceasefire, and then said they're going to expand it anyway. And then one of the things that Hamas decided to do was launch some rockets. Are you surprised by this at all?
No, because those Jews are evil. They're so mean. I mean, how dare they? Gosh. No, I'm not shocked. Hamas wants, they say, oh, Israel's so mean, peace and everything, but yet they don't stop shooting the freaking rockets. And somehow Israel gets blamed for everything. But no, I'm not shocked. I kind of wish that Israel would not do any of this stuff until Hamas agrees to stop shooting rockets. Because everybody knows that Hamas will not abide by any ceasefires at all. They won't.
Yeah. There was a bit of a kerfuffle over the last few days, depending on who you talked to, was Kerry was trying to get a 7-day truce in Gaza. What can you tell me about this we're talking about Secretary of State John Kerry. What was he trying to get done, and why did this not happen?
I think that I think he wants to treat them as equals, but they're not equals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said that. I'm trying to find exactly what he said. There was no formal. He says there was no formal proposal submitted to Israel. Let's make that absolutely crystal clear. But we all know there wasn't. There was one. But he wants to treat them as equals, and he wants to give Hamas, a little bit of leeway. And Israel's like, no, we're going to defend ourselves. we're not equal with these people. They're terrorists, and we're not.
Despite what the State Department says, right?
Exactly. Yeah, these people are not good people. I mean, shoot, Egypt doesn't even like it. Egypt's trying to work with Israel on this. Egypt doesn't even like Hamas.
Yeah. What does that say?
Yeah, exactly. When Egypt is siding with Israel, when any of those Arab countries are siding with Israel over another sect of Arabs, something's wrong. So
yeah. One of the things that was said that Israeli TV reported was the Security Cabinet rejected Kerry's proposal mainly because it would mean Israel has to cut short the effort to destroy tunnels. And these are the tunnels that Hamas is using to go from Gaza to Israel and attack people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Kerry said, no, I never made a formal proposal.
And we all know that's BS. We all know that is BS.
Yeah.
And they should be able to destroy those tunnels. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's give them away into Israel so they can, murder us even more. So they can, so that way they can bypass the Iron Dome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at some of this, and I don't know if there is really a solution at all to this. I like being solutions oriented. I like sitting here and saying, okay, there's got to be a way that we can solve this, but at the rate it's going, there really isn't one, is there?
No, there isn't. There is not at all. There is not one be satisfied until there are absolutely no Jews left in this world. Not just Israel.
Yeah.
They do overtake Israel, and the Jewish state is completely gone. No, that's not enough. They want to eliminate all Jews in the world. They do not want any Jews left. None. So it won't ever stop.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it would be nice if they actually, if this would stop at some point.
Oh, I know, and it can stop if Hamas stops shooting rockets into Israel. It is so simple. It's not complicated. It's an easy situation with a very easy solution. Hamas needs to stop shooting rockets into Israel. Because, I mean, they can't say that Israel, does all of this. Because then why isn't Israel shooting rockets into Jordan? I can't remember every country that it borders.
Jordan, Lebanon.
Right. Why aren't they doing it to them? No, obviously because Hamas keeps shooting first. So if, Israel's so anti-Arab, why aren't they shooting rockets into those other Arab countries?
Yeah.
Why do they allow Arabs in their government? Why do they allow Arabs to live in their country peacefully? So
yeah.
It's never going to end.
Now, one of the things because this is a war, and I know that in wars there are going to be civilian casualties.
Right.
And I get really frustrated, or not frustrated, I don't want to say disappointed, saddened is the best way to put it. When, you hear about 1,047 Palestinians killed,
right?
And however many Israelis have been killed. It just gets I just get frustrated by that, because I wish there were a better way for this, and
I know that. All right.
There isn't one.
No, there isn't. The only way for that to stop happening is for Hamas to stop putting their weapons and their bad guys in civilian areas, putting it in the schools, putting them in just basically civilian places. Because that's how all the Gaza Palestinians are dying. Israel's targeting Hamas's weapons. They're not targeting people, and when they have the weapons in houses, in hospitals, in schools, in marketplaces, civilians are going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. Did you see the Telegraph article that came out today, this evening, discussing about apparently Hamas militants are attempting to negotiate a new arms deal with North Korea?
No, I didn't. They are?
According to, and this is from the Telegraph.
I'll look it up.
This is from the Telegraph. I have posted the link in the chat room. I've also posted it on the Skype chat room, so you've got a direct link to it, Mary. Hamas militants are, this is according to Con Coughlin, defense editor, Hamas militants are attempting to negotiate a new arms deal with North Korea for missiles and communications equipment that will allow them to maintain their offensive against Israel, according to Western security sources. The security officials say the deal between Hamas and North Korea is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and is being handled by a Lebanese-based trading company with close ties to the Palestinian militant organization based in East Beirut. Hamas officials are believed to have already made an initial cash down payment to secure the deal and are now hoping that North Korea will soon begin shipping extra supply of weapons to Gaza. So, Mary, how long until we hear about a North Korean freighter being intercepted in the Mediterranean Sea?
Oh my gosh. This is... Wow. I'm not shocked by this, but I bet it won't be very long until there is one captured in the sea. Because, North Korea, if Kim Jong-un doesn't get a lot of attention paid to him, he's bound to do something.
Yeah.
Wow. I kind of like how it's only worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It kind of reminds me of Austin Powers. $1 million. And everybody laughs at him like... Yeah, Is it sad that I kind of concentrated on that, how it's only worth hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Yeah.
It kind of makes me wonder, though, how good are these weapons since they're from North Korea?
Well, you see them dealing with, they're shooting rockets, and, even if it's a rocket that, only goes 2 feet, it's still a deadly rocket.
That's true. Yeah, I know. I'm not shocked by this at all. North Korea would make deals with anybody.
Yeah.
Just to be a force on the planet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, yeah. I bet they start sending them right away, too. I'm actually kind of shocked that this is only just now happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, from the... If we look at do you think it's bad that the U.S. is trying to broker a ceasefire?
I do. Just let Israel defend themselves and eliminate Hamas. They have nukes. I say nuke them. But not really because, it's so close to Israel, obviously. But, Israel can take care of herself. And we know that this administration is anti-Israel. So this administration should not be involved in this. And I think it'd be safer for Israel if, with this administration in place, if America stays away from Israel.
Yeah.
During this.
Yeah. What did you and actually let's bring the politics home a little. Actually, let's do this. Let's take a break, and then we will be right back. And I want to shift focus, staying on the discussion on Israel-Palestine and what the U.S. is doing and their involvement there. This is Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. I'm your host, Taylor Millard. Mary Chastain is the guest, and we'll be right back right after this.
This is the Pint-Sized Pundit. and I am here to tell you that anything Taylor says on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge is his opinion and his opinion only. He does not speak for his employer, his employer's employer, or anyone else. He especially doesn't speak for Liz unless she says so.
This is Liz Harrison, and you know, I have no idea how many times people have told me conservative women can't be sexy. Well, we can prove them wrong. Listen here on Vigilant Liberty Radio, Friday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, the conservative feminist show where the ladies are kink-servative.
How much of people's income do you, Michael Moore, want the government to confiscate?
Probably twice what we're paying right now.
It's not envy, it's war.
Where's the rage? Where's the uprising?
Storm the doors of the New York Stock Exchange.
It is a class war.
If the wealthy paid their fair share. For a documentary filmmaker, I do really well. I'm very blessed.
And the rich thought poverty was bad.
I do well.
They get rid of it.
What pure? There's nothing pure about capitalism.
And they know what's coming on Wall Street.
We're seeing the end of capitalism. And I say good riddance.
He is one of my favorite capitalists. No, I want to give him a hug.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
And back here on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. I know Liz hates the entire Swedish heavy metal. I love the entire Swedish heavy metal, and it's nice when she sticks that as the liners. Mary, what do you think of Swedish heavy metal?
Oh, I like anything heavy metal.
Okay, well, see, there we go.
I just like heavy metal.
Nope. See, there we go. Somebody else, Liz. Somebody else, Liz, likes it. Even if it's talking about defeating the Visigoths, still. But anyway, let's take a look at the kind of the U.S. response to what's been going on. We've talked about, U.S. wanting to do a ceasefire, trying to get involved in that.
Right.
At the same time, Ted Cruz made a statement a couple of days ago, and I got in trouble for saying that I didn't think he should have said it. He made the comment that he didn't think that, or that he made the comment that Barack Obama using the FAA to basically say that no, there's a ban on U.S.-based airlines flying in and out of Ben Gurion, I'm probably mispronouncing that, international airport. He said that was essentially an economic boycott of Israel. Now, whether or not that's true or not, and certainly there is evidence out there that the Obama administration is not big fans of Israel. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that I would have used that. I would have used those terms. Mm-hmm. But am I wrong? Am I wrong there, Mary?
I do, because I think I kind of would like to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's because I'm too nice of a person. But considering what is going on over there, I'm actually kind of shocked that it didn't happen sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it was a way to take another jab at the Obama administration when... And also, don't forget what happened in Ukraine. You know, a jetliner was shot down because of a war.
Yeah.
And so I thought it made sense for them to cancel the flights to Israel. You know, they didn't want that to happen again. So I think I don't agree with what he said. I really don't. After what happened. Now, if that jetliner hadn't been shot down in Ukraine, I still probably wouldn't have agreed with him, but I would have been a little bit, given him a little bit more leeway.
Yeah.
But, hello, over 298 people just died because, the pro-Russians in a war shot down that airplane. Probably, and more Americans, I think, are probably flying to Israel than they are flying to Russia or Ukraine. So, probably in an effort to save some American lives too, they probably thought, maybe we should stop this for a little bit. So, I actually was all for the ban of flights to Israel.
Yeah,
I was actually behind it.
Yeah, and I think when you sit there and you have this sort of thing happen,
mm-hmm.
If a private plane wants to do that, I know Michael Bloomberg hopped on a plane, went over to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
If private individuals want to do that, I have no problem with that.
Right.
I mean, they're taking their risk there.
Mm-hmm. But those planes that are filled with almost 300 people, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you've got a war coming out. It's a war. Excuse me. There have been more people killed. Well, granted, okay, they're going into Palestine, and like I said, the Hamas is hiding the weapons in specific places, but it's just not safe. It's really not. So I don't blame them. And I don't agree with Ted Cruz. I just thought it was another way to take a jab at Obama. And we can't take a jab at Obama for everything as much as we want to. Yes, we know he's anti-Israel. Yes, we know he sucks. It gets kind of old after a while. We're stuck with him for another 2.5 years. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It gets kind of old after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't necessarily disagree with you there. The other thing that is kind of interesting to look at, and Felicia Cravens, Something Fishy, brought this up in the chat room, was the fact that Democrats, Senate Appropriations Committee Chairwoman Barbara Mikulski introduced an emergency spending bill Wednesday that would provide $2.7 billion to address the influx of immigrant children. However, the other thing that it includes, though, is emergency funding for the border crisis, wildfires, as well as the Iron Dome over in Israel. Now, at the same time, you look at it, the GOP that introduces its own version of the bill. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said Republicans are united in supporting our ally Israel. We can help Israel defend its civilian populations against indiscriminate attacks. The Pentagon wants to use $225 million in emergency funding to keep up with the demand Israel has for Iron Dome missiles. Look, I love Israel. I want them to win this war. I want them to survive. I want them to come out on top. Why are we funding this?
I don't know. We don't have any money. God. And like we said, Israel can take care of herself.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I know, oh my God, we're going to get slammed because we dare criticize this. And, we're anti-Semitic because we don't think that we should be funding this or helping Israel. But no, just stop. Just, no. It frustrates, and it really frustrates me that we can't really say any of this stuff out loud because we'll be anti-Semitic.
Well, we're saying it out loud now.
I know. But until now, we kind of had to bite our tongues.
Yeah. Fishy actually pointed out in the chat, outside of jokingly calling you a rhino, and she was joking when she said that.
I'm a libertarian.
Yeah, I know.
I love you, Fishy.
Her comment was, she also made a comment was, the whole purpose seems to be to put Republicans in the position of voting against Israel.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I mean, that is that's a smart political move by Mikulski. But, of course, what I've said is that the best way to help Israel is to trade with them.
Yes, I was talking about this on Foreign Matters on Thursday, how the market and economy is the strongest weapon in the world. It could beat out the strongest army, weapon. The market, capitalism, economy, exactly, trade is so powerful. And to boost her economy would help her even more. You're absolutely right, Taylor. 100% on the dot. Right there. To trade with her and be like, oh, okay, you guys are anti-Israel, you guys are anti-America, fine. We won't trade with you. But we'll trade with Israel. We'll boost her. See what happens when we all get along. And then, they'll complain and all, but hey, you're right though. Economics.
Yeah. Free trade, not foreign aid. And of course, what a lot of people think, and I think a lot of politicians think, is that what the foreign aid, I mean, let's just be honest, it's attempted bribery is what it is.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. And it never works.
No,
Pakistan still hates us. The Palestinian authorities hate us. They all hate us, but oh, hey, give us more money.
Yeah.
I want to eliminate all foreign aid.
Oh, I do too. I do too. That was one of the...
We don't have any money.
No. And we haven't for a long time.
I know. I vote for you to take care, to look out for my interests, to invest my money well. I don't vote for you so you can vote to send all of my hard-earned money to these people who hate our freaking guts.
Yeah.
Because that's where the majority of the money goes to. It's people that hate us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm little Miss Anti-Semitic. I want to stop foreign aid to Israel. I hate it. I hate foreign aid. I can't stand it. And yes, I hate women. I hate children. I hate the Jews.
Yes, which is hilarious because weren't you once called a Jew slut?
Yes, because during their 8-day war in 2012, I think it was, I backed Israel, and I still do. More power to them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There is a difference, I think, and this is the problem with battles that get kind of, where they get put, when you get too simple when it comes to battles, and not realizing, obviously, that there are very, very complicated issues that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, we can say, well, what we really want to do is, instead of giving foreign aid, let's do free trade. Let's trade with people and build up their economies that way and encourage freedom and encourage liberty. Because let's remember, part of the reasons why the Soviet Union temporarily fell was the fact that we traded with them.
Yep.
And we encouraged capitalism. If you look at some of the... And nobody likes to talk about what's going on in China, but capitalism's working in China too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about it as much because there's so much bureaucracy there.
Yep.
But capitalism's working in China.
Yep.
And so
is a beautiful thing. It is. Capitalism and the free market. It's the biggest turn on in the world. It's just.
Let me ask you. How do we encourage this? How do we encourage people to consider this and to look at this?
We need to show them. It has to be shown. Kind of like how people. That's how socialists and communists get people. I hate it when people. I think Whoopi Goldberg said something about like how communism, it does look good on paper because you know what, it really does. Socialism and communism sounds like a great thing. It really can. But in reality, it doesn't work. And you have to show them that it doesn't work. You have to show them that capitalism works. Unfortunately, it's hard to do in this country, too, because of all the red tape and the bureaucracy. But you need to show them the pictures from, communist Russia, from communist Poland, from communist China.
From communist North Korea.
No, communist North Korea, especially communist North, even though North Korea is a special case. I mean, that's just...
Yeah.
I'm not interventionalist, but if we assassinated and took out that regime, I would not blink an eye. That is...
You'd throw a party, wouldn't you?
I would throw a party, and I know I'm kind of going off topic, but, people say, the humanitarian... We got to do this for humanitarian reasons. You know what? If you need to do something for humanitarian reasons, North Korea better be your first freaking stop. You know what I mean? It's like people are protesting. People are protesting Israel's inhumane treatment of Palestine and the Palestinians. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, where are your protests for North Korea? Yeah. But show them that. Show them what happens to that. How North Korea. God, their airplanes, I think, are old Soviet airplanes from like the 1960s. Just putting them side by side with pictures from South Korea. You have to show it. And unfortunately, though, when you have to show it to them, it doesn't happen overnight. And people are getting more and more impatient. And they want to see results now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen now. It's not going to happen overnight. It won't happen in 4 years or 8 years for 2 terms. We might not see any of that success. So I think in order for them to convince them, you first have to instill patience in people when it comes to the economy.
Has patience ever existed in the economy? Because I sure don't remember that.
No, it happened probably during Calvin Coolidge's time, but...
Yeah. One of the things I've heard about getting involved in China is, and not praising them for the fact that they are allowing capitalism there, is because, and this is horrible when I hear this, when I hear this happening, is the persecution of Christians there.
Oh God, yes. That, we talk about Christian persecution in Iraq and the Middle East, and I'm just like, there's a lot of Christian persecution going on in China.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're... Nope. And they also, there's no free press there. There have been some people that have been arrested on air. God, there was a story I did last year about a prominent journalist who was basically arrested and just never heard from again because he questioned some policy with a supposed private company with the China government, and it's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of Russia, how like, you know, their petroleum company and their oil company are connected to the Russian government.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was kind of, you know, asking questions about that, and boom, he was gone.
Yeah.
And you know, seeing all of this, you know, Israel and Russia and China, you know, we bitch and complain all the time about our government, and we really should. But damn, I am so glad I live here.
Yeah.
I will take Obama and these Democrats over Putin, over the people in China, over Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't take away that, you know, Obama sucks, but you know what I mean.
Oh, no, absolutely. Speaking of the latest stuff regarding Ukraine and Russia, according to Fox News, Russia on Saturday accused the U.S. of contributing to the Ukraine crisis and suggesting that the Obama administration lies about Moscow's involvement in the downed Malaysian airline. The country's Minister of Foreign Affairs said the U.S. is conducting an unrelenting campaign of slander against Russia, ever more relying on open lies.
Okay. One of the breakaway regions that this occurred in, the Donetsk People's Republic, their self-proclaimed prime minister, his name is Alexander Borodai. He's a Russian citizen from Moscow. Okay, let that sink in. He's not even from Ukraine. He's from Russia, from Moscow.
Yeah.
And he helped orchestrate, you know, he helped the annexation of Crimea. Now, all of this propaganda can get through to Russia because Russia, just like China, doesn't have free press. You know, they block a lot of social media sites. They block a lot of outside blogs. They have that new law now where, you know, blogs and news sites, you know, you can be punished just, you know, with profanity. And they put a ban on profanity in the arts. So Russia can get away with this stupid propaganda and these stupid exclamations and allegations and all this other crap. But people on the outside, we know the truth. You know, NATO has released satellite images that have shown Russia troops growing on Ukraine's border. On May 25th, when Ukraine had the presidential election, some of my journalist friends were in Donetsk, where the Donetsk People's Republic actively did not allow anybody in that area to vote. And these journalists had their cameras, and they found truckloads of people coming in from Russia, and these people admitted that they were from Chechnya, and they were sent there by their leader. Now, okay, you know, usually Chechens and Russians don't get along. Well, there's a group of Chechens where their leader, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I have his picture in my head. I have his picture in my head, too. He's very chummy with Putin, and they all admitted on camera that they were sent there by him. Sergei Lavrov admitted that they sent humanitarian aid, and he didn't specify the humanitarian aid, but a militia leader said, oh yeah, it includes army equipment. and then the interior minister from Ukraine said 3 Russian tanks crossed the border, and this was like June 25th. This was late June. And NATO released satellite images that proved that suspicion. I mean, Russia can say all they want, but we just laugh at them like, keep fooling your own people, but we know the truth.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, the leader of the rebellion is from Russia. He's a Russian citizen.
Okay, I want to. You're gonna love this. So
Okay.
I went to the Wikipedia page for media of Russia.
Oh God.
Yes. The media of Russia is diverse with a wide range of broadcast and print outlets available to the consumer, offering all kinds of perspectives and catering for all tastes.
Is there an asterisk?
No.
That, leads down there saying, just as long as it's Kremlin approved.
No, but see, here's the best part. You go to the television and the main television stations in Russia.
Oh, wait, let's make this a game.
Okay. All right, let's see. Let's start with...
And I swear I'm not cheating.
Okay. Russia 24.
Yes. What about
Who do you think owns that?
Oh, the Kremlin.
Okay. Okay, you would be correct. How about Zvezda?
Oh, God. I don't know if it's directly the Kremlin, but it's obvious. It has to be somebody that is connected to Putin.
The Russian Ministry of Defense.
Ah, there you go.
First Channel. Who owns that?
Some other department. It's government owned, though.
Yes, it is government owned. It is government owned. TNT.
That has to be government owned again.
Actually, it's owned by Gazprom Bank.
Well, you know who owns Gazprom Bank?
Andrei Akimov is the... or actually, no, the parent is Gazprom JSC, with the chairman being Viktor Zubkov, who is the former Prime Minister of Russia.
But you know who owns, obviously it is a leg of Gazprom, which is the state-owned gas company, which is, the CEO is Alexei Miller,
yeah,
who is like a lieutenant of Putin, and basically owns Europe by the balls because of oil. So yes, I mean, they can technically say that's independent, but we all know it's not.
Yeah. Let's see. Russia Today.
Oh, God, that's Kremlin owned.
Okay. Dozd, or the Optimist Channel.
Optimist Channel. I have no idea.
They're supposedly owned by Natalia Sindeyeva. And we're actually one of the first people who covered the 2011 Russian protests, which argued that there was rigging in the parliamentary elections, and then was asked to provide copies of its coverage to the protests to check if it had been abided by Russian media laws.
There you go. Oh my God.
Yeah. And by the way, in January of this year, the largest Russian TV providers disconnected the channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, they really don't have any actual independent television stations or radio stations or newspapers. It's all there is something linked to everything, to the Kremlin.
Yeah.
It's so disgusting. And you will see Gazprom now I did go to the Russia Media Wikipedia page. Yeah, everything is just okay, this says Europa Plus is a private national network. I don't believe that at all. Well, that might be because, well, no, because it spans across old Soviet Union.
Kind of interesting, isn't it?
It does. I mean, but you'll see Gazprom everywhere, and that's because Gazprom owns everything. They just do. They just do. And, there's subsidiaries, connected to them. And it's disgusting. It is so disgusting. So Russia can keep saying this crap and they'll get away with it. And people in Russia will believe them. Because you can't put past any, you just can't. During their, before they annexed Crimea, there was one website called lenta.ru, and they interviewed the leader of the Right Sector, which is Russia's boogeyman group.
Yeah.
In Ukraine. And the Kremlin told the editor-in-chief not to publish it. She published it. And a few days later, she resigned. And a lot of people were like, this can't be right. She had to have been forced to resign. And the next day, about 32 editors and writers resigned in protest.
Wow.
Yep. And then another journalist, I can't remember what publication she worked for, but she resigned. She's like, too much censorship. She's like, there's no job for true journalists in Russia. Yeah. She didn't say Moscow. She said Russia.
Yeah. What does that say?
Yeah. It's horrible. We can bitch about our media, but at least we have other outlets that we can reach people. We have Breitbart. We have Vigilant Liberty Radio. We have
Free Radical Network.
Free Radical Network. We have, Hot Air. We have Town Hall. We have the ability to reach people because we know our mainstream media leans to the left. We know it, and we can fight it on our own. These people in Russia, they can't. People can't have, blog. They can't even have blogs.
Yeah.
Really. So, yeah. At least we have an outlet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's take a real quick break, and then we will be right back. I'm Taylor Millard. This is Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. Mary Chastain is my guest, and when we get back, we'll talk about the latest sanctions that have been put on by the EU against Russia. So
I'm laughing at it.
There's Mary's opinion of it, but we'll be right back after this.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to VLR.
Mr. President, members of Congress, you've been making a lot of noise about taking our guns away. But you might want to review history. 1835, Gonzales, Texas Territory. The authorities wanted to confiscate the big gun that protected that colony. You know what the people said? Come and take it. Because they were willing to fight for their freedom and their guns. So are we.
Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but I warn you, you'll have to pry it from my cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it.
One shot at a time. Just like Gonzales, we're keeping our guns.
This is Guy Benson from townhall.com and Fox News, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
And back here on Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. One of my favorite bands, I think, outside of listening to Swedish heavy metal is The Army You Have, done by our friends Gary F. and Eaton and Shelley Eaton, KJ Adden, Well, I know that Alfonso Rachel did some stuff with them. I really like those guys, and I always really like it when we get to hear their music on VLR. So be sure to check them out at just Google The Army You Have, and you'll get a link to their stuff. They've got the great Retracto song too.
Mm-hmm. I love those guys.
That's one of my favorite songs. And I still love the fact that their See You in November song got played on Air America once.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. just sneak in just a little bit. Just a little bit. Again, this is Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. I am your host, Taylor Millard. Mary Chastain from Breitbart and Misfit Politics is here too. Thanks for being here, Mary.
Anytime.
And from the BBC, Russia says the new EU sanctions against it over the Ukraine crisis will jeopardize security cooperation against terror. The Russian Foreign Ministry said the EU would bear the blame for the move, which sees 15 officials and 18 entities subject to asset freezes and visa bans. Those include people who are not allowed to go in the company. Mikhail Efimovich Fradkov.
Mm-hmm.
He's a permanent member of the Security Council of the Russian Federation. Also, Nikolai Platonovich Patrushev. Alexander Vasilievich Bortnikov.
Mm-hmm.
Rashid Gumarovich Norgaliev. They do have some of the most fun names to pronounce.
I know. I love Russian names. I love them. And Russians are pretty good looking, too.
Wait, I thought you only liked Swedes.
Oh, I like Russians, too.
Okay.
Gino Malkin.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I like Val Nichushkin myself, but I'm biased because, he's a Dallas Star.
I know. I'm like, gee, I wonder why.
Let's see. But yeah, both the EU and Russia has accused. Both the EU and the U.S. has accused Russia of backing Ukraine's rebel, which Moscow denies. On the count of three, Mary, do we want to start laughing?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Ha 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 ha.
Oh my God. Okay. Where do I start with this sanctions list?
Just you know something? Let's go with this comment by the Russian Foreign Ministry. We believe these decisions will be greeted enthusiastically by international terrorists.
What international terrorists? I mean, who? How? I don't understand how they can say this. But then again, Russia says so many freaking stupid things. Because we all know that these people constantly travel to the EU because of, to help with security issues. No, they don't. No. But of course Russia must criticize these sanctions. And you know what? These sanctions aren't even a big deal considering what just happened to Malaysia Flight 17. If anything, it's going to hit these people in their pocketbooks because if they have any assets in the EU, they're frozen. And you know what? There's probably a loophole to where they can get to them anyway. They can't travel to the EU. Oh, darn. These sanctions are a joke. Russia can try to, say whatever they want. They're a joke. They did sanction some ports I think they sanctioned all the ports in Crimea, which could affect trade and economy, as we talked about before concerning Israel. Meaning, businesses can't bring in any goods or, trade basically in Crimea now. But I don't see anything from Rosneft, anybody from Rosneft. I don't see anything from Gazprom or anybody from Gazprom. I see that they sanctioned the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic. So does that mean they somewhat recognize these breakaway regions now? I don't understand Russia's claims because a lot of these people are from the breakaway regions. They probably don't have any assets in the EU. Okay, maybe like the president of the Republic of Chechnya, because, Chechnya is another issue altogether.
Yeah.
But I don't see how Russia can say this unless they're admitting that these people have criminal connections. I don't think they are. And if they do, they obviously admitted it without thinking about it. The fact is that after what Russia just did to Malaysian Airlines 17, these are a complete, utter joke and a slap in the face to the Dutch and to Australia and to Ukraine.
Okay.
Obama has even sanctioned Rosneft and Igor Sechin, who is the CEO and president of Rosneft and who has very lucrative contracts with ExxonMobil. And they sanctioned Gazprom Bank, which is not Gazprom, but it's the financial arm of Gazprom. And what did we talk about with Israel? How to strengthen Israel? Oh, trade and economy. In other words, finance, right? Mm-hmm. So they put Gazprom's Obama has even done this, and these sanctions are a joke. They've all been a joke by the EU.
So, yeah. So how would you do it?
How would I do it?
Yeah.
Kind of at the point of just saying nuke Russia. I had enough of their crap. No, I would sanction Gazprom. I would sanction Rosneft. I would sanction Alexei Miller, who is the CEO and president of Gazprom. I was A-okay with the sanctions on Igor Sechin. That's how I would do it. Again, people say sanctions don't work, but in actuality, they do. And I think it was the third or fourth round of sanctions. It was the one right before Igor Sechin. Obama did another really good sanctions list where he sanctioned a lot of people close to Putin. And these people, they hate the West and everything. But this is where they send their kids to school. This is where they hide their assets. This is where they go on vacation. They hate the West, but then again, they love it. So you have to hit the people where that matter to Putin. And another thing with Russia is that, unlike, it's kind of like how, Obama, how the scary people are the people that are behind the curtain when it comes to Obama. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Russia does the same thing. Putin does the same thing. The people that really matter, he doesn't talk about. He doesn't really go in public with them. The really, really rich oligarchs, he kind of keeps a distance to them so he can, the farther away it seems that he is from them, the closer he probably is to them. So you have to hit those people. Because I remember when the list came out, all of us Ukraine journalists, our jaw dropped. We couldn't believe it. And people are like, who are these people? And we're like, these are Putin's next door neighbors. They rely on Putin to keep semi-good relations with the West so they can enjoy our awesomeness while at the same time criticizing us. I mean, look, Putin's daughter lives in the Netherlands. The regime in North Korea sent their kids to Switzerland for school and France. You know what I mean? They love the West at the same time. They love our resources. So you have to continue to sanction and sanction and sanction the people closest to Putin. You have to hit them in their wallet.
And there's got to be a way to encourage freedom and liberty at the same time, right? Right?
Yeah. It just... Again, and you know what it all comes down to? Energy. The energy sector is what makes the world go round. The EU will never touch Rosneft because British Petroleum owns 20% stakes in the country. Well, yeah, technically in the country because Rosneft is Russia's largest petroleum company. So, EU won't touch that. Germany, the powerhouse of the EU, gets 30% of its gas from Russia. So they won't. They will not sanction anybody that could make a difference to Putin. And anyways, it's been so late that they've probably moved all their assets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mary, let me ask you this: as we are running out of time, and I don't want to keep you too late. I'm sure Zach is very patiently standing by.
Actually, yes, he's sitting right next to me. We need to watch some more episodes of Twin Peaks.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep. You know something? My sister, my sister loves Twin Peaks.
Love that show. I was the only third grader who watched Twin Peaks. I love that show. It's amazing.
I will watch it. I will watch it at some point.
You need to.
I will. But where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at mchastain81. You can find me at breitbart.com and misfitpolitics.co. My tweets are usually about Ukraine. I do a lot on Ukraine, but also food. And I usually live tweet whatever I'm watching too.
and she will talk about hockey and tennis.
Oh yes, tennis.
Okay, who is? Let me ask you this: who's your bigger crush, Lundqvist or Nadal?
I don't like Nadal.
I'm sorry, Lundqvist or help me out here.
You. Oh come on, Roger Federer.
Federer, thank you.
Oh God, Roger Federer takes the cake.
Okay.
He's even over Zach, but in all fairness, Roger Federer came first.
The fact that he's sitting next to you, I think, is the best part.
Oh, and he knows it. He knows it. I make it known. I've been in love with Roger Federer since Wimbledon of 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, Roger Federer over anybody.
Okay.
Man, love him.
There we go. So, Mary Chastain, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
And be sure to be back here next week for Saturday Night Cigar Lounge here on Vigilant Liberty Radio. Don't forget, on Monday, it's their finest hour with Alan Bordius. Tuesday, the Roundtable of Extreme Liberty with Alan Bordius and Crystal Schoonveld. Wednesday, you do want to catch the Modern Comment Show with Amy, followed by the simulcast of Right War here on, Right War on FTR Radio. That gets simulcast on Vigilant Liberty Radio. Thursday, be sure to catch America Our Way with Dustin Hoyt. You really do want to listen to that show. It's a great show. Dustin does a really good job. Then the simulcast of Right War. Friday is, of course, the, you could either call them the Conservative Feminist Show or the Kink-Conservative Feminist Show. Mary, I'm sure will want to listen to last night's because they do rip apart 50 Shades of Grey.
I like 50 Shades of Grey.
They point about better ones, though. And then, of course, on Saturday, you have me. So, catch you guys next week. Thank you so much. and have a good evening.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.